always been very responsible with my money. Always had good advisors, and never taken any chances with anything.
So that's
a lot of people do that though. They throw their money. Oh, I'm going to make a quick kill. Yeah. They don't realize that the flip side of that is,
My whole thing is I just don't want to lose. So I'll take a little bit more conservative approach. Well, it's too bad that Doug couldn't.
He says he really apologized. He said something came up. He didn't describe what it was, but I'm sure it's Doug's the kind of guy that would never play without something really important happening. So
we'll just have to do our thing.
Do our thing.
All right.
All right.
So let's
we do a pretty good thing together.
2-minute thing.
Yeah. All right. Thingy.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Well, welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality. And today, we were going to have a guest, but instead it's going to be just you and me.
A good friend of mine, Doug Greenwald, who does minor league baseball. His dad was major league play-by-play announcer for many, many years. We'll get him on some other time. Doug is on the road. He was covering the AAA All-Star game. His team, the Fresno Grizzlies, is playing in Tacoma tonight, and something came up. He's wearing a bunch of different hats. When you do minor league baseball, you don't do just one thing. Something came up, and so he had to attend to business, but we'll get him some other time. But you and I always have a good time together. So
we do. You mean you tell me those minor league baseball announcers don't make $600,000 a year?
Yeah. Now, he was telling me about the traveling. They do, believe it or not, AAA, they do travel by plane, but it's the connections and it sounds pretty crazy. They have to play, like, for instance, he's doing, the Fresno team, and they go up and play up at Tacoma, and then they have to go all the way down to Tulsa. And getting from Tacoma to Tulsa is not straight shot. There's no commercial.
Two connections.
Yeah. By the time they get there, it's like, oh, man,
But do they stay on the West Coast, though?
Mostly. Most of the Pacific Coast League is based on the West Coast. Salt Lake City, Colorado Springs, Tacoma, Fresno, Sacramento,
So where do they get those names? I guess they don't want to confuse with the
A lot of it is
Giants.
A lot of it is historical, like the Sacramento River Cats. Now, that's fairly new, but the Fresno Grizzlies, that was apparently years and years ago. There was a team called the Fresno Grizzlies.
And who they AAA for?
Now, that's a good question. Fresno, I don't know if a lot of our listeners know this, was the Giants AAA affiliate. Now Sacramento is. Sacramento used to be the A's AAA affiliate. They moved their AAA to Nashville. I'm not sure who did.
Just like the old Federal League of the early 1900s.
Yeah, that didn't last too long, by the way. Only a couple of years.
That's true.
A lot of players jumped to that league. There were about 15 major players that jumped to that league.
Well,
this
is enough money.
Pre-World War I. That was, way back in the day. Before my time.
Well, the old USFL with Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's right. Donald Trump was failure at running a USFL team, that's for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if Steve Young is still collecting on his $1 billion.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Right. Stay tuned. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
He got a great deal. I think that he probably made more money doing that than he made. God, how about Steph Curry? What was it? 201 million over 5 years. That's $40 million a year. And then Harden gets $200 million for 4 years.
I don't think he's worth it.
No, I don't think so either.
He
showed a lot. He just that last game where he just went through the motions. It was like, why? Be interesting to watch him and Chris Paul together, though. Are they going to mesh well? Who's going to have the ball at crunch time? It's going to be Harden, and then Paul's going to be the passer. I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? But $40 million a year to play basketball. I realize the money's there. They can afford it. Hey, more power to them. But Jesus criminy. It's just the amount. I guess the fans are the ones who end up paying it, all the television revenue. But the fans, look at the cost. $600 for the cheapest ticket to go to a finals game. The Warriors.
That is pretty cheap.
Yeah, and that was face value. So
Oh, that was face value.
Face value.
We'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay.
All
right.
Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Bruce McGowan. Now, at the break, we were just starting to talk, you and I, about Steph Curry making about $40 million
About $40 million a year.
And, how does that relate to the ticket prices?
Right.
And we've gone through this before, and it's kind of strange because I look at it and I say, well, in one respect, you automatically say, oh, yeah, well, that's why ticket prices are what they are. But it's a supply and demand.
Yeah.
I mean, if the owners said, well, these, or whoever control, so I'm assuming the owners of the teams control the seats, right?
Right.
And if they said, well, then that means we have to charge $100,000 a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can afford that, or
Right.
very few people, and it's all this matrix stuff. It's like an airline.
Yeah.
Once the airplane leaves the ground, you're not going to be able to sell that ticket
That's
anymore.
right. That's
So the only reason that the ticket prices necessarily go up is because everybody wants to see
Yeah,
Steph Curry.
well, the
Not so
Warriors-
much how much he actually gets
Yeah,
paid.
actually, I mean, the Warriors have, I think, about 30,000 people on a waiting list just to get an application in for season tickets. So the thing is that NBA, NFL, all these pro sports leagues, they get a huge amount of money with their television contracts, but they also make a fair amount on concessions and tickets and all these different things. And of course, local teams, the individual teams make a lot of their money based on how many tickets they sell. And the Warriors right now are the hot ticket, so it behooves the Warriors to set their prices at a high range, even though the fans may not like it. But you can't blame them.
Well, exactly.
I mean, that's a high demand.
On their new stadium, because it's going to be the new Coliseum, basically.
Right, over in San Francisco in a
Uh,
couple of years.
How many seats? What's capacity?
It's going to be about 21,000.
And you have 30,000 people who are in line to get.
30,000 beyond those who already have tickets. So
Yeah,
they don't have to worry. So if anybody drops out, they'll just pull one of those, the top person from the top 30,000.
And how much are the season tickets?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure what they've priced their new ones at. The old ones, let's say if you wanted season tickets, good season tickets, not on the baseline, but say in between the baskets and maybe 20 rows from the floor, you're paying probably an average of $250 to $350 a ticket per game. That's pretty much what you're paying. I may be wrong and maybe a little off, but I may be.
Yes, that's about 10 grand.
Yeah, it's about 10 grand a ticket. I mean, that's a lot of money. It's the same thing with the Giants, and they do have. Most teams now have what's called the. I remember Mario Alioto talked about it. The flexible spending, not flexible. What is it? Where the depending on the opponent, they charge more, and that makes sense. I mean, I don't like the seat any more than anybody else, but I have no reason to complain. I don't pay for tickets. I get to go to games for free. I haven't paid for a ticket. Last time I paid for a ticket was 1975. It
was 50 cents to go see a
a
movie.
I used to go to games when I was a teenager in the 60s at Warrior games, and I'd go up and they'd buy them. The games weren't sold out. They'd have 7,000 to 8,000 people. It was like $2.50 for a good seat.
$2.50.
Yeah, $2.50, and it was $1 to park. And it was $1 for a hot dog, and there you go. You brought $10, and that took more.
Of course, if you made $5 an hour, that was a lot better.
Yeah, it was.
But I guess what I'm thinking about though is okay. So let's say Oklahoma City, right?
Right.
Okay, Russell Westbrook makes a lot of money.
Right.
So do some of the other players, and even if the Warriors come to town. I wonder what their ticket prices are. Or of course, Kansas City doesn't have a basketball team anymore, but and baseball has a lot more seats.
Sure.
But you go to a place where there's just, actually, I guess the New Orleans Pelicans. Because New Orleans is not a very rich town.
No, it's not.
So ticket prices there
probably are a little more reasonable.
Yeah,
probably a little more reasonable.
And even if the payroll, right? If the payroll
I think with football with the New Orleans, I'm sure the tickets are pretty pricey because it's only 10 games a year, and people make that commitment. Oh, I'm going to go to 10 games a year. But basketball is a different story. Marketing and the way you market your team and try to get people involved, and you just have to go after a whole. It's a different fan base that you're going after, obviously.
But also just the economics.
Yeah.
I mean, people in New Orleans, generally speaking, don't make as much as people in Silicon Valley.
That's right. But like I said, you can still charge probably the same amount for football because football is an event. Everybody wants to go to the football game. There's only 8 regular season games a year. With basketball, you got 40, and with baseball, you got 80. So you got more to sell.
Okay, so Oklahoma is more of a college football town.
Yeah, I don't even know if there is a college football team. I don't think, there's Oklahoma City University, but that's not a big.
Well, the Sooners play.
They play in Stillwater, which is, I'm not sure how far that is from Oklahoma City. Okay. I'm not real familiar. It's one part of the country I've never been to.
Okay, but they'll get 80,000.
Oh,
people,
yeah.
Right?
Oh, God.
How much are those tickets?
That's a good question. Again, I think they're probably pretty pricey, but not exorbitant. They're probably, I don't know, I'm guessing now off the top of my head, I bet you $50 $50 to $100 for the good seats. Yeah. But it just depends.
That's a good
I mean, if you go to Madison Square Garden in New York and see the Knicks, even though the Knicks aren't very good, you're going to Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And it's New York, you
And
know.
a lot of rich people.
A lot of rich,
there.
yeah. So they probably charge a little bit more. And of course, the Warriors can charge plenty because they won 2 of the last 3 championships, and they have, as I mentioned, 30,000 people waiting to buy season tickets. So you can go online and buy tickets, but you're going to pay through the nose. I saw somebody paid $10,000 for a baseline ticket for the title, one of the title games.
It was 100,000.
Was it 100,000? Are you serious?
Yeah, they had it on.
Who would pay such a? Well, I guess somebody who has 100,000. You know, it's disposable income for somebody. But God, who would pay that kind of money? Even if you had it,
Even
would you
if you
pay?
had it, no. That's the thing. I look and I say, listen, can you afford $200 for a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Would you pay for it?
No. I mean, if I was a hardcore fan, really wanted to go to the game, and I had billions of dollars, and I didn't need, I wasn't taking it with me. Yeah, I probably would buy that, but that's
I still wouldn't do it. No,
if I had billions of dollars, really wanted to go to the game, and I had 100,000 ticket, I'd do it. What the hell? Why not? You only live once. But I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, who would? I mean, you'd have to be somebody who was making a lot of money to justify that, or rationalize
Well,
that.
I've always wanted to go to a playoff or a World Series game.
You've been to a few of those, right?
None of the World Series. No
No?
playoffs. No.
You've never been to a playoff or World
I
Series?
just look at that.
Not even a playoff game?
No. Well, of course,
Football playoff game? NFL?
No.
Never seen the 49ers play in the playoffs?
Only on TV.
Wow.
In the comfort of my house.
I always thot you'd been to some of these games.
No, not to those. Well, no, because
it's hard to get tickets.
Yeah, and the thing is, I just don't want to spend that kind of money on that.
Well, the thing is, here's the deal: you got to weigh how much money you're spending on the experience, and is it worth it? And to me, as a fan, I guess I'm a fan. I'd probably do it. Maybe I'd do it. I don't know. I mean, I haven't had to spend the money. So I've always gotten a free pass and a great. And
see, that's why you can't really relate.
Yeah, I can't relate to it. I mean, I get a parking pass, I get a press pass. I'm sitting in the best
seat. Free food too.
Free food. You're sitting in the best seat in the house, but you're working. But sometimes I remember during those football playoffs back in the 80s, I was like on the phone constantly doing updates. Man, it was a grind.
So how often did you get to even enjoy the game?
Football, not very much. When the Raiders moved back, I did more because I did sidelines for the Raiders, and doing sidelines is a piece of cake job. It's a lot of fun. You come on maybe 5 times a quarter for a minute and a half. Then you just watch the game from this. And watching the game from the sidelines with the pro team is really cool because you see things the fans don't see and the guys up in the broadcast booth don't see. You see the little conversations, the little arguments, the little, intense. I was along the sidelines when Tom Brady had the famous fumble. It was a fumble, the tuck. Yeah. And I was only like 20 yards away, so I saw it right in front of me. And it was clearly a fumble. I mean, the Raiders got job. Let's face it, they changed the rule, but the Raiders got job. And I'll never forget what that sideline was like after they made, when Walt Coleman came over to the sideline, and everybody's like, oh no, and all the fans are going, oh yeah, they're going to change it, yeah. Of course, the Raiders still had them behind the 8 ball though. All they had to do was stop them, and they didn't stop them.
Yeah, of course, I would take the wind out of your sails when you call against
God, and that was the last game John Gruden coached, and that was the beginning of the great run of the Patriots. Somebody got to write a book about that night because that was the beginning of the Raiders. I mean, they went to the Super Bowl the next year, but Gruden was gone and the team went downhill shortly thereafter. And that was the beginning of the Patriots' great run. This intersection of 2 great teams.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break. We forgot to tell you that we were talking random sports trivia. Here's our first trivia question. Who is the only professional athlete to play for 3 teams in the same city?
Wow. Yeah. So probably a New York baseball, I'm guessing. It's got to be New York baseball when the Giants, Brooklyn
3
Dodgers.
in the same city.
Got to be
in the same city.
Okay. I shouldn't be. I'm leaving hints now for people.
Yeah, same city.
Okay. All right.
Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. And don't touch that dial. Yeah, we're going to be right back.
That's a good one. Is it the 3 New York teams, baseball teams?
No, but see, you can't.
Oh,
right? You can't say Brooklyn and New York because that's not the same city.
It is. Brooklyn's part of New York City. It's a borough.
Well, true, but
okay, all right. So it's got to be 3. Well, were they all there at the same time? They were all those teams were playing in the same.
This is in the 50s and 60s.
I'm not going to get that one. I'll just let you answer that. I'm not
You'll probably have heard of the player.
Okay. Pretty well-known player?
Not really.
But I probably,
You'll
unless he's somebody really obscure, I probably have heard of him. You wouldn't believe all the trivia nonsense I know.
That's what I figured you'd probably know.
I mean, a lot of it is lost in my memory, but some of it just, if you mention it, it'll come back in a flash.
Yes.
So I can't remember my Social Security number, but I can remember who won the 1954 World Series, you know.
And is it funny? I don't know my current
Current driver's license?
No, I don't have my license number, but I have a car.
Right.
But I still remember the one from 1964. You know?
Of course you do.
Because remember back then, for some reason, when you got gas, they'd ask you your license number of your car. I don't know why.
No, I'm sorry. When
You
did they do
remember
that?
getting gas years ago? They used to ask, "What's your car license
That's
number?"
true.
And I don't know why.
Well, probably because they thought maybe you'd leave without paying or something, and they'd have you.
But I mean, they did it after you.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Maybe that was
Interesting.
It's probably before you paid.
Yeah.
All righty.
All right.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. First trivia question we asked was a little tricky. Who is the only professional athlete to play for 3 teams in the same city?
In the same league, right?
Um,
Or maybe in the same sport. Same sport?
No.
Different sports?
Different sports. You got 2
Oh.
baseball teams and 1 basketball team.
That'd be Dave DeBuscher, maybe?
No, but it wasn't New York.
Dave DeBuscher played baseball and football, or basketball. Gene Conley?
Yes.
Yeah, Gene Conley.
Gene Conley.
Yeah, he just died recently.
Oh, did he really?
Died a week and a half ago. He was 85 years old. Played with the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
With Bill Russell, and then he played with the Red Sox.
And number 3 teams.
Oh, Boston Braves.
Boston Braves.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
right.
Okay.
He was a good pitcher. He was a very good pitcher, and he played on 2 He is the only guy, I think, in pro sports that has rings. World Series ring. He won with the Boston. He won two rings with the Boston Celtics, and then he won a ring with I believe the Boston Braves won a World Series title. I believe.
What year would that have been? 45?
It would have been in the mid-40s. Yeah.
Well,
maybe
no,
I'm wrong.
He played the 50s, though.
No, I think I'm wrong. I think he just won with the Celtics. I was thinking because the Red Sox did not. Well, no. The Red Sox did not win one for a long time. Yeah, 1918. And Boston Braves won theirs way back in the 20s. So
So
yeah.
okay.
All right.
I'll give you credit for that.
It's interesting. He won his rings though in a sport that he didn't play very much at all in, and then the other sport that he played a lot in, he didn't win any rings.
Well, you have to be. It's a team sport.
That's right, team sport.
So before we started the show, you were starting to talk about the Raiders and the worth of the team as compared to some of these other teams.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. The Raiders are moving to Las Vegas in 2020, and their worth is going to be less than what the Rams are worth, who have moved to LA, and what the Chargers are worth because they moved to LA. Part of it has to do with the size of the market. Now, it's interesting. The Raiders are a much more popular team nationally than either of the Rams or the Chargers. Maybe even collectively, those 2 teams don't have as many fans. But that's not how you value a franchise. It's not how much, how many fans they have or how many tickets they sell. It's the size of the market that they play in. Dallas, for instance, the Dallas Cowboys are the most highly valued franchise. But part of the reason is the way they've been marketed and the way they have a lot of
America's team.
Yeah. But they haven't won a title since 1996. So go figure. And then, it's interesting. 3 of the top 5 valued sports franchises are soccer franchises. 2 of them are in the Spain League, and one of them is in the English League. Manchester, and then Barcelona and Madrid.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, you have that's more of a
worldwide thing. Yeah. But I mean, that's if you conclude all the pro sports, because outside of soccer, there are no pro sports leagues in other countries that are really that big time that can compare with the NFL or the NBA. Or we really, if you think about it, Edward, we really have a unique situation here with Major League Baseball, pro football, and basketball. These are huge concerns, and they're not that big. I mean, there are pro leagues in other sports, in other places, but
Europe has the basketball league.
They have their basketball, but it's very small time. But the soccer is, I mean, you go to Germany, you go to Spain, you go to England. It's crazy. It's a cult over there.
They have, the stands are about 100,000 people, aren't they?
Yeah, in some places even more. I mean, in South America, I think in Rio de Janeiro, they have a stadium there, I believe, that seats 150,000. and they have a moat around it because if the fans riot, they want to make sure they can't climb onto the field.
Wonder how much it costs for a ticket there.
Yeah, that's a good question.
People can't afford too much.
No, I don't think so. But I don't know. That's a good question. It'd be interesting to find out how teams market overseas in places like third world countries.
Yeah.
Where they don't have that much money and they don't have that much. I mean, I'm sure there are leagues that exist in places even like Cameroon that are professional, but they're probably at such a low level that the tickets are probably pretty cheap. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah. By the way, here's a good trivia question. I'll throw one at you.
Sure.
Who there's a prominent. I can't remember the guy's name. Oh yeah, there's a prominent player who plays with the Philadelphia 76ers. Big guy. He's like 7 foot tall, about 270 pounds, center. And he comes from Cameroon, which is a Western African country just up the coast from Nigeria. I think his name is Joel Emblid, because I saw him the other night on the ESPYs, and I'm going, where is, he's got an African accent, but which country? I'm trying to figure, is he from Nigeria? Is he from Kenya? Remember
Manu Bol from Sudan?
Manu Bol's from Sudan, and who was the guy that used to talk like this, and they called him the Cookie Monster? But Matumbo was from the Congo.
Yeah, Congo, yeah.
So a lot of African countries have contributed. It's interesting, and we're getting off on a tangent here, but a lot of places that produce athletes.
And I wonder, I guess they have to kind of teach them how to play basketball. A lot of these guys.
Well, you think about it. I mean, where would they get their? How would you learn how to play basketball in the Congo, for instance?
Yeah.
Well, there's probably a small core of pro athletes that are from there that play the game, and they probably have their little academies or their little schools, or they have maybe organized leagues at the high school level. Who knows? Be interesting to find out.
I know. I think of the Congo. I think of like the Amazon.
Yeah, I know. It's that's the darkest part of equatorial Africa. You think of the jungle. You don't think of cities with, but obviously there are cities. Zaire is a huge city.
Oh yeah.
So
sure. So moving on, Derek Carr, he backloaded his deal to keep the Raiders together. That's pretty
Isn't it? It's kind of like what
Kevin Durant
did. I think you see a lot of athletes doing that. Not a lot of them, but there's some that do this because they're forward thinking. They're thinking, I'm going to get my money down the line, and my marketability is going to be higher anyway if I'm with a championship team. It's more fun to play with a championship team.
But also, I don't know. In the old days, I don't think players made enough money to be able to really do it. They were all kind of thinking for themselves.
Oh, yeah. In the old days, well, we say old days, 30, 40 years ago, they were making good money, but, not the kind of money. We were talking Steph Curry making $40 million a year? $40 million a year? And he's making probably even more than that on his endorsement deals.
Yeah.
So he's starting his own.
Yeah, but look at the taxes he's got to pay.
Oh,
it's not worth it.
I know. He only gets to keep half of $80 million. Jeez. What a rough life.
It's like I don't want to win the lottery.
But you think about it, the flip side of that is he subsidizes a lot of America, which is a good thing. If you're making a lot of money, you should help out so other people can make money.
Yeah,
there you go. Anyway, that's my social thought for the day.
That's right. Well, Charlie Sheen said in Wall Street, "How many yachts can you water ski behind?"
Oh yeah, there's some great lines in that movie. Greed is good. That's my favorite line. Greed is good. Gordon Gekko.
That's right. In fact, it's funny. I just watched that movie again.
Classic.
Earlier. It's funny how young these guys are.
Yeah. Did you see the remake of The Wall Street with Michael Douglas and I'm trying to think of the guy who played the bad guy? It was a great movie. Michael Douglas Michael Douglas actually plays a more sympathetic character because he's been humble, he's been in prison, his family is broken up, and so he falls back into his old ways. But then eventually he comes around and he realizes, family's more important.
Yes, Actually, I did enjoy that movie.
Yeah. And I remember the bad guy is the son of who's the guy who played Dr. Welby's assistant in Marcus Welby, MD? Good-looking guy.
Oh, Brolin.
Josh Brolin is his son, who plays the role of the Gordon Gekko character. He was so good.
He was good.
Just being a nasty guy. And, one of the characters asked him, he goes, "How much do you need to make?" And it's the classic line, "Just a little more."
Well, yeah, but that comes
from Rockefeller. But I mean, he said it. He goes. He didn't say quite like that, but he said something like that. And I just thought, that's part. When you make that kind of money, it doesn't matter anymore. So what's the motivation? Well, it's just the idea of it.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Well, it's the challenge of the deal.
Yeah. That's what Donald Trump loves. He loves the idea, not so much of making the money.
Yeah.
The money's great. He wants the money, but he wants to make the best deal for himself, and then he can kind of brag about it and think, hey, I won the deal, you know.
Yeah.
He's finding out that that's not as easy when you can't snap your fingers, I want a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not with the Republicans and Democrats, as messed up as they are.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not
a lot
gonna
of
happen.
times, like, you know, when I go shopping or whatever,
Right.
I maybe I can afford stuff, maybe I can't.
Right.
I just don't want to get taken advantage of.
Nobody
that's
does.
the thing that's
yeah.
the thing that really kind of gets in my craw. So that's
Yeah.
why I'll, you know, kind of do a little bit more shopping around.
Don't you think
stuff.
salesmen sometimes they'll get a bad rap? Because, I mean, most salespeople have to be ethical and they have to be good at what they're doing. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to sell more because their reputation is going to be bad. And I just think
One
it's
and done.
yeah, I just think it's bad when I hear people rip salesmen because I think most salesmen are good at what they do and they're decent people. I've worked with a lot of people in broadcast sales and they're wonderful people. The ones that are good and have stayed in it a long time. There are people that come and go.
That's
that are,
true. You know, in broadcast sales,
you have to
all
have
the ones
that.
I've dealt with have been very good.
Well, they have
Very
to
nice.
have that.
Yeah.
That people-to-people relationship
Yeah.
because you're dealing with the people industry. But I mean, I'm sure that's true in all professions. But you know that movie Glenn Ross, and Jack Lemmon and Alan Arkin and Ed Harris and Kevin Spacey. They're all such creepy. And then Alec Baldwin comes in. He's look at you guys. I'm gonna whip you into shape. You're gonna be out in the streets. You know.
And we're selling timeshares. Is a little different.
That 5-minute soliloquy though, where he gets up and his browbeating those guys. You remember that scene?
Yeah.
That made Alec Baldwin's career. It really
Yeah.
did. He said later, that was kind of like my seminal moment. I knew I had made it, and he did that all in one take.
Wow.
One take. Yeah.
Good thing you got it right.
Yeah, it's a good thing he got it right. Yeah.
All right, we're going to cut to another commercial break.
Yeah, we're having so much fun. It's just going by fine. I know. I can't believe it's Thursday. As we tape this show, I can't believe it's Thursday already. Jeez,
I know, and it's like you know, the day before and the day after the All-Star game. There's really not much going on, so you have to.
Oh, I was doing my updates at my radio station yesterday, and it was like there was nothing to talk about outside of Sam Querrey upsetting Andy Murray in Wimbledon. That was it. Yeah.
Well, you can just kind of give people a little personal update.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are going well. Kids going out.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's
Yeah.
Okay, here's the second trivia question. Who are the only 2 baseball players to hit 2 grand slams in one game?
I can tell you one of them. I don't know about the second one.
Okay.
I know one of them because I listened to the game on the radio. I was at the beach.
And one of them happened before you were born.
One of them happened before I was born. I know that, but I don't know who did it. But the other one happened when I was 14 and I was listening to it on the radio at the beach. Yeah.
Okay, you got a third person there then.
Okay. Well, you don't have my third person.
I don't have your third one. That'll be
Okay.
interesting. All right, stay tuned. Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
Oh, this will be fun.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see who you come up with. Of course, you know, these questions, I could have wrong answers.
You probably got right answers. You probably just didn't include one. That happens.
Uh,
This is an interesting little thing. Look, it's got these little grooves here. Is that interesting?
unless the top is missing.
I think that's so you can put your fingernail in there and go like that.
Really? That's just your typical top part?
Yeah. God, my wife she's so funny. She said, okay, Bruce, you need to take my parents to the airport tomorrow because they're flying to San Diego. I said, no problem. So what time do you want me to pick them up? She goes, 9:45. Perfect. You know, the traffic's gone by then. It'll take me probably close to an hour to get them there even. So she goes, and then I need you to come home and pick up Molly at 11. I said, wait a second. I'm going to be in the city at 10:45. I have no way I'm going to pick her up. Well, you have to pick her up.
Then I'm going to have to drop
I said,
Dad
well, then I'm
off
going to have
at
to.
7 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to figure this out.
Don't you just love when wives do that to you?
Oh, they do it all the time. Throw these little curveballs at you.
Yeah, it's like, I can't.
Especially when you have kids. They love to,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Which, by the way, reminds me. Okay, so next week,
Right.
I
Next
am
week.
going to. I'm going to the Giants game.
Oh, nice. What are
Yeah.
they playing next week? Day game? Next
Yeah,
Thursday?
no, it's 7 p.m. at night.
Oh,
Even
cool.
bid on these tickets and
Oh,
stuff.
nice.
So I've got to record the business show at 2. So
Right.
can we actually record on Wednesday?
Yeah, that's fine.
Wednesday at 1:30?
Sure, just send me an email to remind me or a text to remind me.
Okay.
Just remind me. But, I mean, I won't forget it, but it'd be really helpful. That's not a problem at all. My schedule, now that Colette and Molly are out of school as of next week. Molly's out of school right now. It's cute. Colette's been having her work with her, help her out, and she's paying her $10 an hour to help her. So it's a great little summer job for Molly. So Colette has summer school for 5 weeks, so she's making like 3 hours a day. She makes $30. She makes $150 a week, and then she's making about $750, and then she'll have that money to use to spend for her, whatever she wants for the summer. And it's, she's working, which is great, and she's learning some things. So I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
If Colette could help her out to do that. And she loves working with the kids. She's
Sure.
really good. She's really good with the kids. So I think it's great.
So I'm just putting here next
Wednesday, yeah.
Next
And I'll
week,
see if I
1:30.
get Doug to join us next week. You'd like Doug. Doug is an interesting guy. He probably will never make it to the major leagues, not because he's not good enough, but just because he's got, he just doesn't know how to market himself. You know, that's how. And I hate to say it, I'm not real good at marketing myself, but I've managed to get enough of my name out there that I can get jobs now. You know, I can
He
always.
was very competitive though too.
Oh yeah, if you do play-by-play, well, it's a specialty.
Yeah.
See, and I was never into doing a specialty, even though I wanted to do play-by-play. I knew that I would have to go to some place I didn't want
I'd
to
be
live.
better at play-by-play than I would be.
Doing
That's just yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
probably.
I'd be better at Dwayne Kuiper than I would be at Mike Krukow.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
being the play-by-play.
Yeah, because I can
Play-by-play is
really
fun.
imagine, like, you
Yeah.
know,
I enjoyed doing that Pacifics thing a couple of years ago. That
Yeah.
was fun. Remember, that's
And
when I
you did
first started.
play-by-play.
Yeah, when I first started working with you guys.
Yeah.
Vern, I was doing that during the summer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just that 1 year. It was an internet radio. I don't know who listened. Probably nobody. That was fun.
It was fun to get to see.
Yeah,
You know, the
paid,
guys,
me, paid me $75 a game, so it was
Yeah.
3 hours of work for $25 an hour. It was fun. Heck yeah.
because Vinny does a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, he doesn't just do the play-by-play.
No, he's gone now. He moved on to
Oh, really?
where did he go? To the Visalia Oaks.
To do play-by-play there.
Work in the front office and do play-by-play.
Wow,
Yeah.
who's doing the play-by-play now?
They don't have anybody doing it. They just don't do it.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
he
think
actually did-
Stuart Horn is doing some games,
Yeah,
limited number on TV. Stuart's a strange dude.
he is. He's a
You know-
nice guy, but he's,
yeah.
he's a little.
Do you
odd.
know Stuart?
Yeah, he actually helped me get this thing set up.
Yeah, he's a real bright guy. He's a likable guy.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just when I got to know him, he was doing the play-by-play the first year,
Yeah.
and then Mike wanted me because he liked Stuart, but he didn't like Stuart doing the play-by-play.
Sure.
So Stuart really made an effort to get to know me and was real helpful.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I left there, and I didn't care, you know, it was no big deal.
Yeah.
Stuart was doing it on TV.
Uh-huh.
They did a bunch of games, and I went in and I was in a game, and hey, Stu, how you doing? He acted sort of a standoffish. It was almost like he was embarrassed to talk to me. Like, what the hell's
Really?
going on? Yeah, I couldn't figure out what's
That's strange.
strange. Yeah.
Wow, I bet that was hard for Mike to lose Vinny though, because he did a
Yeah, he did a lot of
did a
stuff.
nice job.
Yeah, he did.
Play-by-play.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Okay, so we have a trivia question here where Bruce thinks he knows one of the answers, but that's definitely not one that I have.
Well,
So
go ahead.
here's the question.
Question,
Who are
yeah.
the only, according to this, who are the only two baseball players to hit 2 grand slams in one game?
Well, one guy I know who did it because I remember this. That made him famous. He actually was the pitching coach for the Yankees during some great years with the Yankees, late '90s, early aughts. Tony Cloninger, and Tony actually hit 2 home runs, 2 grand slam home runs, at Candlestick Park when he was with the Braves in 1966. And I remember because I remember listening to it on the radio, and Russ Hodges and Lon Simmons were the Giants announcers, and they were just like, "Whoa, 2 grand slams from a pitcher!" And it's always stuck with me.
Yes, that's right. I totally forgot. I
Yeah.
don't know why I didn't have that on
Well,
here.
maybe they just didn't, you know.
Boy, these
You don't think
rascals.
that's a good answer though, because I mean that's a tricky answer because if you ask somebody, well, there was a pitcher who hit 2 grand slams a game, how many people would know who it was?
Yeah, but
You know?
I remember Tony Cloninger, yeah.
It's interesting. You talked to Tony Cloninger about that day, and I think he had 5 home runs in his career, but he hit 2 that day. They were both grand slams
Well, of course, against the Giants.
against
of
the
course.
Giants. They won that game like 17-3 or something.
Okay, so one of these, see, I knew that Tony Cloninger was not going to be in this one. Because
Right.
You said you were 14 at the time,
Right.
and I know you were born in the 50s.
Right.
Okay, so one of them happened in 1999,
Uh-huh.
Nomar Garcia Parra.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
And
do
the other
remember that.
one was in 1936 by Tony Lazzari.
Tony Lazzari, who was a Bay Area native. We are doing this show in the Bay Area, and I actually got to know Tony Lazzari. And I got to tell you a quick story. Tony Lazzari was really good friends with Joe DiMaggio. And Joe DiMaggio, late in life, in the 1980s and 90s, used to come to selected A's games and sit in the back of the press box. And nobody would bother him. None of the media, they knew better than to talk to him because he was just there to enjoy himself. Joe had actually worked with the A's as a batting coach their first year. So he had a good relationship with the Haas family. And one time I just was bursting with curiosity. I heard he was aloof and wouldn't do interviews. So I heard Tony Lazzari was kind of his go-to guy. And I went up to Tony Lazzari, who was a crusty guy from Martinez. And I said, "Mr. Lazzari, I hate to I'd love to do an interview with you too, but
Yeah.
is there any chance that Joe might be able to do an interview? And he goes, let me talk to him. And he went up to Joe DiMaggio. This is like 1990, about a year or two before. And Joe died in the late 90s, so he was, he was coming out to the game still. And Tony goes, he goes up and talks to DiMaggio. I'm standing about maybe 30 feet away. And Tony looks at me like this, and he's like this. And Joe DiMaggio goes like this. With his finger, the audience can't see me, but he's crunching his finger like, come on over here. Sit down. And he was as cool as a cucumber, and he was great.
So he was probably 75?
He was about 75 at the time, and it was funny because Tony, before we started the interview, said, Joe will answer any baseball questions. Joe's going like this, nodding his head. Says, one topic you know to avoid, right? You don't have to ask me. And I thought to myself, I better know this. It's Marilyn Monroe. Don't mention Marilyn Monroe. He didn't want to talk about Marilyn because that really broke his heart when she died. I mean, he was deeply in love with her, and for 25 years he would put a vial of roses on her crypt in Hollywood every year, once a year. He did that. Actually, I'm sorry, once a month he had it delivered, and sometimes he'd be there in person. He was very deeply in love. Matter of fact, they had a great relationship as friends, but Marilyn, of course, had no ability or desire to be a wife. They lived over in my little town where I live now called Fairfax. And when they moved there, it was they lived there very briefly because Joe had friends in the Italian community, and there was a lot of Italians living there. And they had this beautiful little home just down the street from where I live. But Marilyn hated it because it was so far removed from all her hoi polloi of Hollywood friends that kind of precipitated their breakup. Joe wanted the little housewife, and Marilyn Monroe was not a little housewife.
It's funny. I mean, no offense to her or him, but I never thought she was anything.
Well, she had. You think about it. She was a good-looking gal, but she had. Well, it's all Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all beauty to a certain degree is all subjective.
Sure.
But she had a quality, a charismatic quality. And if you see some of her movies, you can see it come out of her. She wasn't a great actress, but she was good. She was good at emoting a certain type of sensual,
she definitely
feminine,
had sensuality.
role. And not that many women. I remember as a little kid, I was just absolutely enthralled with her because she was at her peak when I was a little boy. And I remember when she died, it was like, oh my God, Marilyn Monroe is dead. This goddess. How could it happen? But she was only 36 and took the overdose of sleeping. Very unhappy woman. If you think about her background, I mean, she lived in a ghastly succession of foster homes. She had relationships with older men who kind of took advantage of her. And, Joe DiMaggio was one of the first guys who actually treated her real nicely. She also was involved with the playwright Arthur Miller, who took good care of her too. But by that time, she was too far gone. The drugs and the pills and, needing all the attention.
For me, it was Raquel Welch.
No, Raquel Welch had a certain quality too. She actually looks pretty good still.
She does.
She's in her 70s.
Definitely had some work, but that's okay.
But she's a good-looking woman is going to stay good-looking unless they just let them dissolve. The one I hate to get off on a tangent about this, but it's really sad. Who's my age? What the heck's her name now? Catherine. She was in Body Heat with William Hurt.
Oh,
You know the one I'm talking about. Kathleen Turner.
Yeah.
She looks terrible, the poor thing. And she hasn't had any major problems. Time has not been friendly to her. But she was an amazingly well put together, gorgeous, charismatic woman in her younger
It's strange.
age.
You look at Carrie Fisher when she died.
Yeah, but she had some drug problems, major drug problems, which is sad. Drugs dissipation will,
That'll do you in.
It'll do you in.
Speaking of drugs, I've got this thing. This is actually from a Sports Illustrated back in May.
Okay.
But we just never got around to it. So, as it stands now, this is again back in May, Lance Armstrong facing civil charges that he defrauded the federal government by unjustly profiting from a sponsorship agreement with the US Post Office while using performance-enhancing drugs. So he could be ordered to pay more than $100 million.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's got that kind of money.
That's a good question. So the government's case is not about whether Armstrong doped, but that if that doping constituted contractual fraud.
Interesting.
Right? It says that the False Claims Act makes it unlawful for contractors to knowingly deceive the government and attempts to deter such fraud through stiff penalties.
I can't think of an athlete who is more reviled now, who has fallen so far than Lance Armstrong in terms of his profile in the court of public opinion. People just do not like the guy, and apparently he's not a very nice man.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've heard, and I guess part of it is the denying of doing it, pushing people under the bus.
Oh yeah,
it.
he did that. He pulled a lot of guys down that had also done drugs that he had introduced to drugs. Apparently, that's just what I hear. Again, I don't know all the details on it, but it's too bad. I mean, pro athletes are people. They have their foibles and their shortcomings. We all do, but when it's a high level prominent athlete such as Lance Armstrong who falls from grace like that, it's kind of sad. It really is.
Yeah, but
you can see it happen, though. You can see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's we've talked about this before. It's too tempting to do the cheating. What do they say? It's always better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yeah.
So they cheat, they make their millions, and then it's like, oh, okay, oops, sorry.
Yeah.
And then,
well, Barry Bonds, for instance, I like Barry Bonds because I got to know him pretty well, and he's a complex individual. I'm not saying that we're buddies, and I think he's a wonderful person because I think, but he felt he wanted to be the record holder. It was an egotistical thing with him, and he got it, but it's tainted, and he'll never escape the scent of that. And even 20, 30 years from now, when all the writers and broadcasters are all people that won't have seen him play, there'll still be that scent. It's kind of like, who's the guy from the Chicago White Sox? Shoeless Joe Jackson. Took the money. He didn't throw. He played a great World Series, by the way. He hit 360 in the World Series. But he took the money. You are tainted forever. You are forever tainted. You are
here's
dirty.
the funny thing. I mean, I know he was supposed to be illiterate and all that.
Right.
So here's a guy, theoretically, who gets paid to throw the World Series.
$10,000, which was a lot of money.
What did he do contributing-wise?
Didn't do anything. But you know what he did? He kept his mouth shut. He could have gone to his manager, to the commissioner, and that's what they wanted him to do. That's why he was kicked out of baseball. Not because he threw any games. He didn't. He made some great plays. He had the only home run for the White Sox. He had 360, but he did not tell anybody about it, and he took the money.
No, but weren't those guys paid to throw the game?
Yes.
Not just paid to keep their mouth shut.
Oh, of course they were paid to throw games, but there was only like 4 or 5 that really did. There were 2 pitchers, the shortstop, Swede Risberg, the shortstop, Swede Risberg, and the first baseman, Chick Gandil, and 2 pitchers. Basically, there were 8 guys that knew about him, and then there was also a guy who played in the outfield, can't remember his name, Happy Felsch.
Okay, so if I'm the guy who's paying these guys to throw the game,
and most of them didn't get paid. Only 2 of them got paid their full amount. Eddie Econ, the starting pitcher, and Joe Jackson. The rest of them got little bits and pieces, and they got kicked out of the game.
Okay, so why would Joe Jackson, if I'm the bad guy and I'm making these payments, why would I pay Joe Jackson when he didn't? Hitting 360 is not throwing.
Well, they paid it. He wouldn't do it unless they paid it in advance. And Econ also. Both those guys were smart enough to say, if I'm going to take the chance, I want my money now. The other guys.
So Joe Jackson got paid up front?
He got paid up front.
And he still didn't do it?
He didn't do it. And they didn't get pissed at him because they lost anyway. If they had won, now they may have come after him, but they didn't win. So, that begs the question. If they had won, he wouldn't have gotten kicked out of baseball. He would have gotten his money, but would they have come after him?
Yeah. So if I'm just wondering, it would be very interesting to be a fly on the wall during this time. As they win, because they didn't lose all the games.
They won 3 and they lost 5.
Yeah, which is the reason why they stopped paying players after the 4th game. Basically. I'm wondering if I'm the bad guy and I'm making, assuming it's the mob, right? And
it wasn't actually the mob, though.
Okay, but let's
low level
bad. Okay. Yeah. If I'm the bad guy and I'm watching Joe Jackson and I paid him up front and I'm watching him hit a home run or have a good game, aren't I going to go up to him the next day somehow and say, Joe, what are you doing?
The thing was though that the White Sox were trailing 2 games to none. They never, I think they actually got within a game a couple times, but it was never to the point where it became a problem.
Unless they thought, man, this guy's really smart because he's not making it look obvious. Because some of the guys, they actually did some stuff that made it look obvious.
Well, yeah, and interestingly enough, they stopped paying some of the guys after 4 games. So most of them, there were 2 different groups that were, by the way, 2 competing groups that were paying the athletes. And the athletes got together and said, we're not taking any more of your money, and we're not going to throw the games. But one pitcher, Lefty Williams, was threatened. His wife was threatened. If you do not lose the game today, something can happen to her. So the critical game was the 8th game. In those days, it was a best of 8. So you had to win 5, and it was 4 games to 3. And the White Sox had been down 4-1. They got back within 4-3. Williams was scheduled to pitch, and he wasn't going to throw the game. And they came up to this gambler came up to him in the lobby in Cincinnati, and he says, you got to lose the game today. If you don't, your wife gets it.
Yeah, how do they do best of 8? What happens if it's 4-4?
Then they played, one more, I guess.
Ergo, the best of 9.
Best of 9. Yeah, there we
Yeah,
go. I'm sorry, it is best of 9.
No,
My math was off.
No, but I mean, oh yeah, okay. I was going to say, it really wasn't best of.
It's like best of 7 is, you win 4, best of 8,
you gotta have
best of 8, best of 8, you'd win 5, So,
best of 9, yeah.
Best of 9.
Yeah, because I remember they that wasn't the only time that they had a best of 9.
No, they had I think it was 3 or 4 years, at that time.
All right, we're going to go to our last trivia question here. Who were the first 3 major league players to become members of the 500 home run club?
First 3.
The first 3.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I'll tell you, Hank Aaron was not one.
No, of course not. Of course not.
And yes, you will have heard of all these
Oh,
players.
yeah.
You know every player who's in the,
I know one of them.
Well,
sure.
know, but I mean, you know
I know of them.
You know of all the 500.
I do. I just don't. I may not know these particular guys right off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't know if they're the first guys.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, all right. Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back with some closing comments and the answer to this trivia.
Yes.
Okay, so we're on for next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next Wednesday. Oh.
Sometime in August, the first week of August or second week of August, I'm going to Martha's Vineyard for a business trip. So
nice.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're going to take a bunch of little vacations. One up to Tahoe, one up to Shasta, one up to Gray Eagle, a couple days up at Calistoga.
Good.
Going to do a little train trip down to Santa Barbara.
All before school starts for...
Yeah, just a little 2 days here, 2 days there. I really wanted to take the girls to Hawaii, but Colette doesn't want to do it. She just doesn't want to.
What?
I don't know why. She won't really give me a good reason. Molly wants to go. And I said, hey, there'd be a lot less people over in the summertime. It's not crowded, If you go in the summer time, it's crowded as winter. Because that's when people want to get away from the cold.
Yeah.
So, and it's cheaper to go in the summer, too.
Yeah, when we got married in October.
Well, you had that place, actually, through the trip that I could do. And I said, what, but she didn't want to do it. So, hey, I didn't want to. Not push it,
Gotcha. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm. I hear a voice. Where is that voice? A woman's voice.
Oh.
Oh, it's your secretary. She must have come in.
Yeah.
What's her name again?
Dawn.
Dawn, right. D-A-W-N, right?
Here we go. Okay, let's try this again.
No
right,
problem,
ready?
senor.
Okay, here we go.
This is kind of a funny thing, too. It's got a little soft little rubber
Yeah, that's
thing.
a stylus.
Yeah.
For your phone.
That's great.
Yeah. It doesn't work on that. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Third and final trivia question. Who were the first 3 major league players to become members of the 500 home run club?
I'm guessing one of them was Babe Ruth.
He was number 1.
And then I'm going to guess, I'll just throw out 2 names, Jimmy Fox and Millot.
Yes, you got them in order.
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy Fox started in the 20s. Millot was pretty much starting in the 20s also, or late teens. So, yeah.
No, not teens. He was in the 20s.
Well, and then he became Giant manager, and they actually skippered the Giants to a World Series championship, and I believe it was 1932, maybe. He won actually 3 pennants with the Giants as. Oh no, I'm take that back. Bill Terry.
Bill Terry did, yeah.
But interesting thing about Millot became Giant manager later in the 40s, and the team sucked.
Yeah. And
they fired him shortly thereafter.
Well, because he hit the home run, his 5th. I remember he ended with 511.
5-run, and Willie Mays broke his record.
Yeah.
At Candlestick Park. I was there for that game.
Oh, were you?
1960. Here's another little interesting trivia item about Millot. When the Giants were really, not very good, and they were in last place, somebody asked Leo DeRocher, who was managing Brooklyn at the time, which was playing really well. He says, "Have you ever thought about being a nicer guy, Leo?" He goes, "Nice guys. Nice guys finish last, like that guy. There's a nice guy right over there, Millot. Look where he is sitting."
Oh, is that right?
That's
where the line comes from.
He was the nice guy who finished last.
Oh, that's funny, because you always hear nice guys finish last.
And the sad thing about Millot, at the quick end of the story, he was killed in an auto wreck. Not immediately. He died of he was like in hospital for 5 months or
Like
something.
Billy Martin.
Yeah.
Okay, thoughts for the day. Leo DeRocher said, you don't save a pitcher for tomorrow. Tomorrow it may rain.
That's right.
That's smart.
Very
and Tommy Lasorda said, the difference between the impossible and the possible lies in a man's determination.
I like that.
I like that too. Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective. We're also going to be asking some more sports trivia questions. And hopefully we'll have our guest who was supposed to show up today. Maybe he'll show up next week.
There you go.
If he doesn't, we'll get somebody else. If not, it'll be mano a mano again. All right. Thanks.
And we'll talk more about Millock.
Okay. Good. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
I think it was Vernon who came up with that saying good night, America, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Vernon's such a good guy. Vernon got a call from